Welcome to today's live session of Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are covering the chapter 13 at the moment, Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. And so far we have covered up to verses 7. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So now in the verses 8 up to 12, Krishna will be answering the fifth question which was asked by Arjun in the first verse of this chapter. He asked 5 questions. 4 questions have been answered so far. And now the fifth. Amanetva madam bhetva ahimsa kshanti rarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthairya matma vinigraha. This was verse 8. Now verse 9. Indriyartheshu vairagya mana ahankara evacha janam mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. Verse 9. Now verse 10. Asaktir na bhishvangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachitta tattva mishta nishtopa patitshu. This was verse 10. Now verse 11. Mai chananya yogena bhaktirya vyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitva maratir janasamsadi. Now verse 12. Finally, adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattva jnanartha darshanam etaj jnanamiti proktam jnanam yadatho anyatha. Now the translations of verses 8 to 12, they are together. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of public, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So Krishna is giving the knowledge and the object of knowledge answer to that question of Arjun, which he posed like 6 questions in the first verse of this chapter. This is the answer to the 5th question. These 4 verses 8 to 12 will answer. So what does detachment mean? Detachment means it's a lack of excessive attachment or emotional entanglement to the material things. It means that, of course, you are affectionate, but you are not attached. Now, detachment does not mean that you are going to be irresponsible towards your duties or towards your varnashram as well. Now, the process of knowledge is sometimes misconstrued by people who are not using their intelligence or their logic, we shouldn't say logic, it's intelligence actually, properly. when they are in the field of the activity, which is this life, the body. So when we accept the proper knowledge, the process of knowledge, then it is easy to understand and eventually do the devotional service to the Supreme Lord as well. Now the knowledge, actually what it means is that one has to get out of the too much over attachment, or being quagmired or duly over attached into the entanglements of all the elements we were talking about yesterday. The 24 elements we talked about, the 5 gross elements, then the subtle elements, intelligence, mind, the working senses. That's not so the interaction of those 24 senses, we have to get out of the entanglement of those elements, the 24 elements we're talking about yesterday in the verse 7. And we are actually stuck in our bodies. Who is stuck? Our soul. That is our identity. Our soul is our identity, and our soul is stuck in the body. And unfortunately, we start thinking that we are this body, and we forget that no, we are not this body. This is only a temporary what should we say, a label or a temporary home for us, for our soul. And and everything else which we get with the body, whether it's relationships, whether it's our possessions, whether it's our designations, whether it's our whether the qualities we acquire in our life, the prestige, the fame, or on the other side, infamy, we can say, happiness, distress. So whatever we are getting, it is all temporary, and it is only until the body is there. So there's no need for overdue entanglement. But we know that it's easier said than done. It's only by acquiring the proper knowledge one can situate themselves properly above the entanglement of all these feelings and these attachments and these emotions from due to everything we get due to the body. Now, Mai Chananya Yogena Bhaktir Avyabhicharani, in the 11th verse, which we just read, because we read from verses from 8 to 12. In the 11th verse, Bhagwan says the process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. To the Lord or to himself. Then the other 19 items are of no particular value, but if one takes the devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, the other 19 items automatically develop within. The list which we have just read in the translation, the humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, these are all checklists. These are all the qualities we will be getting from bhakti when we start doing bhakti properly. And the other qualities are approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, and you can read in the translation, and so on. And the last one is the constant and unalloyed devotion to Lord. So the last one, when this one is started, the others, they will come automatically. So it's a list of 20 items. So when the unalloyed devotional service without any agenda or any ulterior motive, when that will be performed, then the other 19 items, they will come automatically. What are these? These 20 are actually the checklists of the bhakti. So the translation of these verses from verses 8 to 12 of chapter 13 is very important, because it gives you a checklist for developing the qualities which are necessary from bhakti. So from bhakti, these qualities will come to you. So it's a good idea to have a look at them. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 12th verse, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunesh tatra samaste suraha. All the good qualities of knowledge develop in one who has attained the stage of devotional service. So the principle of, first of all, accepting a spiritual bona fide spiritual master is important. You have to question your spiritual master as well, just to make sure that the spiritual master is bona fide, is following a disciplic succession, a parampara system. And then you have to take the devotional service, and once you accept a bona fide spiritual master, your transcendental life begins then. The spiritual life starts then. So until you have actually accepted a spiritual master, doesn't mean that you cannot start your bhakti. Listening from the Shiksha Gurus is also good, because eventually you're aspiring to take on a spiritual master. So this is the actual path, and rest is not important. Krishna says humility means that you shouldn't be too much bothered that you should be honored by others, you should be praised by others. And we see in the material life it's opposite. Everybody is vying to get honor from others. Well, it includes all of us. We get upset if we don't get acknowledged. And the person who has realized that they are not this body, they are the soul, to them the honor, dishonor don't matter. They're always humble, and they're not very much bothered to become famous or renowned as well due to their religion or anything else, because they have understood the self. They have realized. So if one wants to know, if you, me, or any of us, we wanted to know that how far we have come in our bhakti, how much we have learned so far, we should just look at these things. That are we humble enough? Are we not bothered for any kind of prestige or fame? If we are not, then that's some kind of litmus test that yes, we have started into the process of bhakti nicely, and we have acquired this quality. Now then there is non-violence. Non-violence is not just the killing of the living beings, but or the destroying of the entities, but non-violence also means not to put other people into any kind of distress. That is also non-violence. So they shouldn't suffer any kind of pain. When somebody feels some kind of mental pain also, that is also not violence. So we have to remember that. And tolerance is that one should be able to bear the insults and harsh words from others. So if one is advancing in the spiritual side, that person is able to tolerate the harshness or words coming from others which are not very pleasant. They will be able to tolerate them. So Prahlad Maharaj is the good example. He was only 5 years old, and how he was able to tolerate his father's behavior towards Prahlad's devotion to Lord, and he continued. So person who is tolerant is the one we can see easily that they are able to continue in their path of devotion with a lot of determination. And what is simplicity? Simplicity is that a person is straightforward, is quite transparent, and they can even speak the truth even to their enemy. They are not too much bothered. And they are able to offer the service are they able to serve their spiritual master nicely as well, with humility and following the regulative principles. And cleanliness is very essential in spiritual advancement as well. Cleanliness is the external cleanliness of the cleaning the body and all that, and wearing clean clothes. And cleanliness is also internal. The outside, as we know, is with the bath, and the inside cleanliness is with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is going to clean the dirt which is there on our minds from the past lives, and that is the only way to get rid of the dirt on the mirrors of our minds. Now, steadiness is to continue and be very much steadfast, determined. What are the good words for determination? They are going to continue in their devotional service no matter what comes in life. And this determination, as we see, is important in material life as well. So never mind spiritual life. And one has to keep their senses strongly controlled, and their focus should be one-pointedness to carry on the devotional service and to advance in the spiritual life. So we should be using all our senses in the service of Krishna. We have spoken about this at a good length in the past as well. And just to remind ourselves again that, for example, during the Aarti, our eyes are engaged in watching the Krishna's Vigraha, Arch Vigraha, the Murtis, and the nose is taking the fragrance of the incense and the flowers offered to Krishna. The ears are hearing the bhajans and the artis and the classes, the glories of Krishna, and then your mouth is going to taste the offered bhoga to Krishna as beautiful prasad. So, and we can touch for example, the tulsi leaf when we are offering that to Krishna. So we can engage all our senses nicely into the service of Krishna. We have to just dovetail our sensory perceptions into the service of Krishna. So this is how devotional service is possible. And of course, learning from Bhagavad Gita all the time, because Lord has spoken to us directly in Bhagavad Gita. Now, the false ego is, we know, as we know, just to accept that no, we are the body, and forget that we are actually the spirit soul. Now, ego, what the ego in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 1.4.10, it is said, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman, I am spirit. This I am, the sense of self, also exists in the liberated stage of self-realization. This sense of I am is ego. But when the sense of I am is applied to the false body, it is false ego. Aham Brahmasmi is for the Atma, the self. That I am this Atma, I am this self. But when we start applying that knowledge to saying that I am this body is false body, isn't it? When the life ends, this body will also be useless. So when we are saying that I am this body, this is false ego, because this is a false body. When the consciousness will go away from it, the self will go away, when the super soul or the Paramatma lying in there will go away, everything will be useless. So we have to understand that and give up this crazy identification with the body, and also we have to accept the birth, death, old age and disease. And it is written everywhere in Srimad Bhagavatam also. It is described that in the womb of the mother, a soul says that it will start performing the bhakti, but after the birth it forgets everything when it comes in contact with the material nature, and it keeps repeating this exercise, birth after birth after birth. And so there's only one way to get out of this, that is by engaging in spiritual service and starting the spiritual life. Then only we will understand that we have to get out of this cycle. Otherwise, we'll keep repeating these over and over. Because once you take birth, then old age, disease, decay and death, reproduction, everything is going to be there. You have to suffer. That's, we can say, the side effect of taking birth, or the award you get after taking a birth. Now it's up to you. Are you going to really reward your birth by utilizing the life you have? Because your intelligence is higher than the other living entities, and using it to understand the knowledge of the Lord, like Lord is giving us a knowledge in these verses 8 to 12, and then apply it in serving it in the devotional service. So one has to then, if you have taken the birth, then you have to get detachment from the home, the wife, the children. Because if you keep staying attached, you won't be able to make your home a Krishna conscious home, and develop your Krishna consciousness. And then easiest way, like we always hear and say, is chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and offering the bhoga and accepting the prasad, discussing Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhupada repeat, and Srimad Bhagavatam also. Srimad Bhagavatam is the pastimes of the Lord. So, and of course doing some deity worship. So these four things can make one very happy. Prabhupada reminds us again and again in the purports. Now it's up to us how far we want to go and how sincerely we want to start our devotional service and help not only ourselves but our family members as well. After, as we know, getting instructions from Krishna, Arjuna has realized that he's not actually doing anything wrong. He's only following his Kshatriya Dharma in the war, and everybody has been already killed by Krishna. When Krishna showed his universal form, he showed all the seniors who Arjun didn't want to kill, they were already situated in Krishna's mouth. He could see in through the time, because time himself is Krishna. So we have to learn to tolerate the dualities of life as well: happiness, distress, hot, cold, fame, infamy, loss, and profit, happiness and unhappiness. And we have to follow the nine processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran, that is chanting, hearing, worshipping, offering respect, etc. Chapter 9, verse 9, chapter 9, last verse of chapter 9 tells us about this. Verse 34 of chapter 9. Then once the spiritual life is accepted and we have adapted our life according to the spirituality, we have then we will slowly realize that we don't have much taste for the material side of life, and we'll be delving deep into understanding ourselves. So bhakti is eternal, it's nityam. Bhakti yoga is also very practical. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 2, verse 11, it's explained, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam adavyam. Those who are actually doers of the absolute truth know that self is realized in three different phases as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Now Bhagwan is the last word in the realization of the absolute truth. Paramatma is within our hearts, and Brahman is the effulgence which covers the God. Now this is the perfection of knowledge. Krishna is telling us in these verses 8 to 12. So beginning from humility, first of all, we have to get ourselves to the level of humility. We have to become humble, and then up to the point of realizing the supreme truth, the Lord. It is like a staircase. We have to climb. The first level of the staircase is humility, and the final level of the staircase, the topmost level of the staircase is, the topmost rung is called Supreme Lord. That is our destination. That is where we want to reach. That's the top. That's the floor we want to reach. That's the ultimate goal for all of us to achieve in our advancement. And it's okay. It might take time, but it will happen slowly. It's all up to our endeavors as well, and we should do how much we can do, and we should help each other and also clear our doubts as we go along, and spiritual master helps you in this way, and your shiksha gurus. So if we do get kicked by the material life, material nature, this Maya, but still, due to the ignorance, a person thinks that I'm the God in the beginning. So the starting is amanitva. Amanitva is the humility. So we have to know that we are the servants of the Lord. Our position is to serve the Lord, because we have to serve something or other in our lives. This is the human nature. If you won't serve the Lord, you will keep serving yourself or your kids or your friends. So you have to do everything else, but you should remember that the ultimate your position is to serve the Lord. And if we keep rebelling and if we don't want to serve Lord, then we'll keep on serving the Maya. We'll be working day and night to fulfill all our material desires, and they will never end, and they will not take us anywhere. Life will go by just like that. So we remember that the bhakti, the count of bhakti, how much you have done in one life, it goes with you. That's the only thing which goes with us, with our, in our soul's account, that goes, and the rest, it is all left behind, whether it's our billions or trillions and whatnot. So with these words, I will take leave of you. Thanks for joining, and try to take up the bhakti seriously in this life. You will not regret it at all. Hari Om Tat Sat and Hare Krishna.